we live in a culture where it's very much like a balance, or if you work hard, you're out of balance, or your family life is going to suffer. But we look at it as the exact opposite, because we have from day one shown our kids, this is what it looks like when you chase your dreams. This is what it looks like when you go after something.
All right, chiropractors and chiropractic students, welcome to the Family Practice Podcast. You know, the one you've been waiting way too long for, because this podcast will actually stay focused on chiropractic. Not only what it takes to get world-class clinical results for kids and families in your community, but also what it takes to build a legendary, incredible family practice that takes care of your family way beyond your dreams. I'm Dr. Tony Ebel, and I'll be joined by Dr. Matt Hill, Dr. Ellie Wright, Jackie Jacobowitz, and incredible guests, Chiros, associates, CAs, all these folks making massive impact around the world. We're going to cover everything: pediatric, perinatal, family practice. This is the podcast you've been waiting for, because moms and dads and families have always needed us. Now they're finally ready for us. I hope you're ready for the Family Practice Podcast. Let's go. All right, y'all, we brought in the wizard for this one. We brought in the true boss lady, the woman who makes everything actually happen for this PWC, PX, PX Docs, Pediatric and Family, Chiropractic takeover for the pediatrician. Let's get rid of this chronic disease epidemic in kids and replace it with healthy, thriving chiro kids, millions of them all over the world. The human, the incredible best friend, and my wife who makes that happen more than anybody would ever know, Kristina, joins me on this one. So I'm introducing us here with this quick little run before we get into the interview and talking about really taking this on together and leading together through the brick and mortar practice, which is obviously where all of this is started. And now Kristina not only steps up and is still the chief operating, integrating, team leading, business manager, officer there with the practice as we go at $2 million and beyond, but she is the real boss lady who makes all of the teams and all of our organization happen. I don't think it should probably surprise anyone that I'm not really in charge of project management, organization, and making sure the checklist gets completed each day. I'm in charge of adding new ideas, projects, and visions to the checklist, and then Mrs. Ebel makes sure that we check them off and get them done, and that more Olivers and more miracles than ever before are made every single day. So here's some of the questions and the challenges that we're going to answer for you and serve you with on this episode. How the heck do you do it together? Now, the truth is there is a lot of, I don't know the actual stat. I don't know if this survey has ever been done, but the way I see it with brick and mortar family practices, especially if you have a pediatric, perinatal, and family practice focus, which is obviously what we talk about here all the time on the Family Practice Podcast for the chiropractic profession, what we tend to see is that most couples do it together. Now, you might be listening right now and it's just you and you haven't even found your significant other yet. I would still listen to this one all the way through and then put a pin in it and say, it's probably coming down the pipe for me one day. And I want to do it with joy. I want to do it with excellence. I want to do it in a way that adds value to our life instead of adds strife and struggle. And so actually a lot of couples that are going to also listen to this are chiropractors or chiropractic spouses. Maybe you're the chiropractor. You're going to listen to this first and go, you know what? I've always wished that my wife would leave her corporate job, or I wish that my husband would leave his corporate job and join the practice, and we could do this together, and we could combine our skill sets towards this mission and vision. So this episode is going to rock your world if that's you too, because you might have stayed separate where your significant other or spouse is not helping you run the practice, especially like in our scenario, Kristina's not a DC. She's not a chiropractor. And you may have decided we better keep this separate so that our marriage and our family life can be awesome and excellent. Well, you know what we chose, guys? We chose awesome all across the board. If we're taking a multiple choice test and we're like, hey, how do you want work to be? Together and awesome. How do you want life to be at home? Together and awesome. We just chose that option for everything. And then we figured out the exact strategy, the exact boundaries, and the exact way that that works. And it works wonderfully, okay? We've had a blast for the entire going on 17 years that we've been building the practice and building businesses together and parenting together. And we just celebrated our 20-year wedding anniversary right ahead of the release of this thing too. And none of it's been easy, and all of it's been Awesome. We have had a blast. So, and then of course, this one's going to hit really home. Maybe you are a double DC power duo, and we have a ton of you out in PX and just out in chiropractic, period, where you met in chiropractic school, got married, or you both found your way, through chiropractic school, and now you're practicing together. But even in that case, if you can both adjust and deal hope and do the chiropractic stuff, when it comes to the business, leadership, management stuff, I bet your skill sets are quite significantly different. I bet the way you are wired is quite significantly different. Typically, in a lot of ways, God, brings us together for shared values and shared character traits and those sort of things. But when it comes to skill sets and the way we, like our working genius, we're a huge fan of that with Patrick Lencioni, and those tend to be polar opposites. And that's your opportunity. And we tap into that with this interview, and we talk exactly about how we combine our strengths to make up for each of our individual weaknesses, and how much that really changes the game for the practice. So this is going to be an interview where truly the husband-wife duo you're about to lead from, we love to lead together. We love to do life together, and we love to not drive each other crazy and lose our minds in the process. Now, I'm a visionary, and Kristina is an integrator. If you've ever read Traction or I just lost it, the book that actually talks about that. What? Not Fossil. Goodness gracious. Rocket Fuel. I was like, Rocket Fossil? That's not the name of the book. You know that these two different relationships at work are actually quite an opportunity for friction and for challenge. But when you really understand how life grows, this is freaking chiropractic. Adaptability, resiliency. Is a fever in a kid a good thing? Yes, when they're well adjusted and the nervous system is tapped in. So challenges make you stronger. Challenges bring more joy, more fulfillment, more growth. And so we've stepped into this instead of away from this and had a blast doing it. So maybe those of you out there listening are struggling to do it together. Maybe you're struggling to keep the work-life proverbial balance between your role as a chiropractor, business owner, business leader, if you're in that position on the team, and your spouse. And I just want you to know, we want you to know, you can absolutely, positively have both. You can run an awesome practice and serve well and slay it there, and you can have an awesome marriage and an awesome family life. You can grow your mission and feel like a connected together team while you're doing it. So last bullet points on the intro. This is what you're going to get out of this one when you listen all the way through. Clear, practical, real life ways that you can first sit down and define your roles and say, hey, here for this practice, I got this, not that. Here for our life, I've got this, not that. And when you make those lists, and because there's two of you, now you have twice the most powerful list. And I actually believe the way this works together, that this isn't a 1 + 1 = 2 sort of force. This is a 1 + 1 = 11 at least. So we're going to teach you how to build the structure to success first. Second, and I love this. This is something I've always had great mentorship and blessing to be. We'll really talk about setting boundaries and how to really have those clean lines in the sand. And as I love to talk about and teach all the time, be where your boots are, okay? So when you're at home and you're living life full energy. Your kids, your wife, your spouse, they get the best of you. Not just only your patients and your team and your business gets the best of you, but how do you have those boundaries so that no matter where you are, it's full send. And then number 3, real tactical strategic bullet point you're going to get from this one. So make sure you listen and pull this out of it. How to align your vision. And here's the big one. Ready for it? Decision making so that you're rowing and going and growing in the right direction. See, where the rubber meets the road in all of this is decision making. It's not that you don't both want to blow up the practice and have a great life. It's what's the best path to do that? What's the best way to do that? And so before you take action, you make a decision. And we've built a TNT. My wife's nickname is Teeny. Long story for another podcast another day. But we built a TNT decision-making framework that we run through all, especially big decisions, but really all decisions. We run it through that formula and that framework. And we talk about that here so that you can build your own And man, when you make the decision-making framework, it changes everything, because now you're growing your business through, honestly, this black and white, repeatable, reusable decision-making framework instead of emotions, which will be all over the place all the time for all of us. And emotions have no place in business. And so if you're going to do business together, you got to do business together and not let it be run on emotion. And that's where a lot of emotional dysregulation and strife is happening for a lot of you. So the third bullet point you're going to get out of this episode will really change the game for all of you. And that deserves that moniker, because it seriously does. So buckle up, lean in. Remember, everybody, every time they get to learn from Kristina, they're like, and I'm this way, BT dub, less Tony, dude talks a lot, more Kristina. And so she's on the mic, she's coming to this one. And so whatever I say on this one, I hope it helps you a little bit, but I promise you this, what Kristina is about to say on this one is going to help you a whole lot of bit, because that's how she rolls. All right, everybody, here we go. First official interview conversation. Oh boy, I hope I do my job well, because my boss is sitting right across the desk from me on this one. My wife, my best friend, truly my boss, and the business GSDer for all of that we do to take pediatric chiropractic and this mission to the world. Mrs. Kristina Ebel is with us. How are you, babe?
I'm good. I'm excited to be here. This isn't my usual rodeo. I'm a very, behind the scenes kind of jam person, but I also absolutely am so obsessed with this mission and chiropractic, and I've learned so much through the years through various roles, so I'm super excited to be here. Speaking
of that, if we just go into it for a minute, your current role, you definitely have had way more video, microphone. You've had a camera and a microphone in front of you way more often over this last 6 to 12 months, and that has been predominantly more, what would you call it, inside PX, right? With some training, some business trainings that we do through the membership, through Brick Builders, which is the advanced mastermind, kind of business part of it. But you have had such great, reviews? I don't think anybody's left a review per se, but we always ask when we're putting content out there, we're very engaged with whoever we're teaching and putting content to, and saying, hey, what is serving you the most? Who is helping you the most? What topics do you want to hear the most? And babe, you are definitely outpointing all the rest. I think they're a little tired of me, honestly, and they are ready for more Kristina. And so we thought we would bring you all the way upstream and just kind of, release it to the whole profession here with the Family Practice Podcast. So
I love it. And chiropractic is such a unique profession because there are so many spouses. I think there's so many times where, the spouse didn't go to business school. I went to school for elementary education, and I think there's so many chiropractic spouses out there that this wasn't like what you went to school for. This isn't something that you are like, I've learned so much about this. You're sort of just thrown into it, and you make it work because it works for your spouse. It works for your family. It becomes a family business. And then it grows to a point where it's like, okay, this kind of outgrew that whole family business. We're just going to duct tape things together. We're just going to make it work. And now we really put in the time to make it work without the duct tape needed.
So we do love to talk about the truth of the subluxations, the obstructions, the challenges that we face in growing these family practices. And let's, the thing that's always talked about in chiropractic is like, okay, a chiropractor who in all those years of chiropractic school has a couple of business classes at best, and they're not really great business classes. They're not taught at a business school, right? You're not getting any business training. But so while that's true for the chiropractor, this spouse with the elementary ed degree, the OT degree, the whatever degree, we run into spouses who run their practices together all the time, right? Mm-hmm. And it is very common that the spouses run the practice together. It's super common that one of them is more of the behind the scenes, especially if one of them, like you, is a non-chiropractor. Well, then they're not going to be on the tables making adjustments, obviously, but they're more likely to be behind the scenes. But it's very common that neither have actual formal business experience or training, right? And I think one of the other subluxations, or just kind of whatever these scenarios to bring into the light are, sometimes a spouse will have formal business training or experience. And it's like, should I leave my corporate job? Should I leave my job in that corporate world and come into the practice? And a lot of times when they do, it's like, oh, the business of chiropractic is quite a bit different. But I think one of the things we can talk about again and again is, why should it be though? Why shouldn't we take these really strong business elements that the rest of the business world knows and does well with and apply them? And so that's one of the valuable things you're going to get out of this conversation. One, the main title is, we're going to talk about how to run these businesses, actually for us, plural. It's all around one thing, pediatric chiropractic. We just have multiple arms of our business and impact making. How do we run them together? What is it, without killing each other? Is that
I think that's the official title.
Yeah, which if we were being truthful, it's like, how have you successfully ran these things together for almost 2 decades while so often almost killing each other, but not officially killing each other, right? Because there's certainly been some times where everybody listening in, this will shock no one, I'm a visioneer. I have 47 ideas per minute, and Kristina is an implementer, an integrator, a get things doneer. And so even if we weren't married, those two different types of God-given personalities and kind of skill sets and structures, they tend to butt heads. And so it's not easy running businesses, a business together as a married couple. It's not easy being a visioneer and an integrator and doing that together. And so we are excited to have this conversation, and we're going to have a series of conversations where we bring Kristina back on the podcast a ton, because we really do have a lot of valuable experience. A lot of things have been tough for us to figure out. A lot of times we have, kind of felt like we're running into a wall and butting heads on stuff. And then a lot of times, definitely more the majority of the time, like we've really leaned into our strengths, covered each other's weaknesses, and just honestly become this 1 + 1 = 11, impactful force. So that's really where we're going through this. The other thing we wanted to talk about, and this one to introduce kind of my first question here, Teen, is the stages and the seasons when we've been able to have these conversations with student clubs or within the PX tribe. I know it's really helpful for them to hear not only how we do this role now at the stage of life we're in, 17, 18 years into practice, but the startup season. So we're going to have to go into our memory banks here. All right, my friend? Hopefully you got your adjustment today. You took your fish oil. Number 1 is way more impactful than number 2 on that. And so when we started the practice, our oldest baby girl, Addison, you literally delivered a baby naturally, with me just getting ice chips and trying to get the heck out of the way there, and our doula and our midwife, 2 weeks before I graduated, and we opened the practice 2 weeks after that, because it was getting built out. We were doing everything to get it going. How crazy does that sound?
Hindsight.
When we say it out loud right now.
Hindsight's straight up crazy. But in the moment, we were just like, this is what we want. And so we went for it. And I feel like there's so much in business and chiropractic, just life in general, where we're told that you can't do all of the things that you want at the same time. And we were sort of the opposite of that. We knew we wanted to start our family. We knew we wanted to open up our own chiropractic business. We knew we wanted to do that together. And so we just said, well, okay, we are in full agreement on these things. Let's just do it. Let's just go for it. And so we were honest with each other that it was going to be hard and that we were going to need support. We were going to need to learn a ton along the way, but we also knew we were going for it. And a lot of family and friends thought, we were crazy.
Classmates.
Or try to, like maybe wait on starting the family, or maybe go, if you're going to start a family, maybe go associate for a little bit, maybe go. But we were so incredibly certain on what we wanted to do. And I think that's been probably our like biggest, like strong, why we are so strong together is that when we are in agreement with each other, there is literally nothing that can take us off course. And so if you're working with your spouse, I would say that's my biggest piece of advice is, what are you certain on together? And those are the things that you don't let anything take you off course. Those are fast decisions. Like we really spend 0 seconds when we both agree on something. The only time that we have like those bigger discussions and conversations is if your visioneer is, with something where you're like, dead set on it, and I don't necessarily see the way to get there, or, you know, just going through some of the things that I know operationally we'll need to have in order to get that in place. But when we agree on something, man, we move fast.
Yeah, it's an unstoppable force through the combination of the different skill sets and of the different experiences. I really want to stay in this chronological order just to set the table for everybody listening, to give a little bit more to the backstory. We want the concepts. We would, like everything with this podcast, we want to tell the stories and kind of go through the case studies so that you get the actionable, you know, here's how we did this. But I think if you really understand the depth of this, so not only did we have a 2-week-old baby, not only did we live in your parents' basement with an infant, we bought a $401,000 building. So we had a $400,000 mortgage, hence living in your parents' basement, because every penny we had saved to start up this practice went to the mortgage and went to the building. Turned out to be a great thing because now we have a building, you know, that is there. Anyways, we then borrowed another $125,000. I remember the spreadsheets. I remember the loan papers because we signed them together. So $400,000 building, $125,000 loan. And oh, by the way, I was about $175,000 invested into this career from chiropractic school. If you are good at math, and that added up to about $700,000 to $800,000 invested into this practice. When you circle back to what Kristina said a few minutes ago, this is what we want. So you didn't say absolutely freaking, but I'm going to add that to your term. This is what we want. So we absolutely freaking went for it, and we just did it. What we can share through our experiences is hesitation will kill any and all dreams. Half ASSing anything will kill any and all dreams. And sometimes the very best place you can be in order to almost guarantee your success is backs against the wall. But when your backs are against the wall together, there's two of you pushing and pulling. There's two of you supporting each other. There's two of you recharging and reconnecting and encouraging each other. Do you remember how many times on a Tuesday morning? So I would serve patients all day on Monday. We were blessed to get busy fast because we worked our butts off together. So Mondays were nuts. I would adjust. I don't know. I suppose once we got busy, you know, well over 100 people, seeing a lot of new patients. I would do a lot of reported findings at the end of the night, right? So I maybe wouldn't get home on those Monday nights, especially 12-hour days, 7, 8 o'clock at night. And then my Chamber of Commerce networking meeting was 7 a.m. every Tuesday morning. And then I would have a whole schedule of like lunch and learns. And do you remember shoving me out the door on those Tuesday mornings? I know I'm pulling the memory bank. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that we set our goal, and then we knew what we had to do to get there. And so it was never, of course we wanted you home more, or of course we wanted that family time that was super precious to us now and then too. But we also knew as a family what we were deciding and determined to do. So we also knew exactly what that meant for your commitment, for where you needed to go. And I, like, even to this day, sometimes when it's like, if you want to slow down, I'm like, no, let's go.
But never, the old phrase, right? What we want to talk about, we'll probably talk about this on every time we get you on here and get into this, like the whole balance, conversation, the work-life balance conversation, the protect the family time, the guardrails, the freedom. I want everybody to be listening. Don't turn this episode off yet and be like, these two are crazy people together. No wonder they've succeeded. They both are just like, she's like, yeah, go do it. No.
Okay.
Yeah, totally. We're just the right amount of crazy, okay? Yeah. We've stopped just short of schizophrenic, okay? And so the coolest thing is we literally always did have our guardrails, and we always had a bigger picture. So when we were in this startup season, we knew what it would take to get whole, to get square, to get successful. And we were brand new into practice. We were brand new into life, and we had that energy. We had that enthusiasm. So I distinctly look back with the startup phase, and I smile about it entirely. I loved, maybe not on Tuesday mornings in the moment, leaving the driveway, was I at the happiest, but I look back on it and I think, oh my goodness, it so worked because we did this work together. And if we bring the family into the conversations. That's what I kind of want to do during these seasons here, babe, is go into some of the practice elements. What was our mindset? What were things we were doing there? And then into the family elements as well, because that's where you can really help our audience, because you have always been the protector of not only me and that from a, protect the chiropractor standpoint, but you've always been our family's protector and making sure that we are staying, we don't even call it balance. We just call it absolutely perfect sweet spot for us, right? And knowing where that is. So in the beginning, you weren't in the office all the time, right? We hired a CA to be our front desk CA. So when the schedule was full, she was in there, I was in there. Yeah. You started, especially with the babies being young and us wanting to start our family right out of the gates. Because if somebody tells you that you need to wait to start your family until your practice is established, little secret from us, you don't get less busy when you're seeing 350 a week or 500 a week with 3 doctors and 5 CAs, okay? So there will never be a perfect time where the clouds part, angels sing, and it's like, let's have a baby now. You will be busy from now forever forward. So you choose to structure your life the way you want it and build it and start it when you want. So that's a little sneak in there about we were just ready for all of it, the practice, the kids. So what did your role look like in that first stage with being behind the scenes, being the business manager? We don't love the term manager, but what was that like back then?
Yeah, well, so when we first opened, Addison was 2 weeks old, and so we had like a pack and play in the back business room. When we opened up, I remember we were like, there is no way we will ever fill this huge
with all the rooms,
giant office. So it was like, one was like a pack and play, one was where, it was literally like we used 2 rooms of the entire practice. So crazy.
Nobody was in the back office.
No, yeah.
Nobody was in the third adjusting room. Nobody was in the second exam room. Addison could have had her pick.
Yeah. But so being in office, it was so great because I got to be connected to the wins. Yep. Sometimes when spouses are too behind the scenes, we get so wrapped up in like the weeds and the tasks and the day to day that we forget about the miracles that go on every single time you walk through those doors and you're inside those walls. So that was so huge for me to still be a part of that and have just that small time in the office where I got to interact with the patients. I got to see what was going on. Getting hugs from moms of what this kind of care meant to them. And that was so incredible for me for on those days when then I was, full on mom mode, taking care of the house mode and all of that stuff. It just continued to remind me that this is why it matters so much that I can hold it down here. So he can hold it down there at the office. And our kids from day one have been raised in that environment. And I think we live in a culture where it's very much like a balance, or if you work hard, you're out of balance, or your family life is going to suffer. But we look at it as the exact opposite, because we have from day one shown our kids, this is what it looks like when you chase your dreams. This is what it looks like when you go after something. This is what it looks like when you step into something that you truly feel like God has called you to serve and move forward in. And we get to show them that. Like, to me, that is probably the thing that I am most proud of. So of course there are times when we get busy or we get super overwhelmed, but we never, ever, ever get burnt out or where we feel like we are on the wrong path, because we are so connected to the mission and where we are going.
Love that we're here. The truth is, when you have a job you despise, when it feels like work, you probably feel like, oh, I better keep my kids away from this. I better put a line in the sand and a line of demarcation. And oh my goodness, unfortunately, didn't our pastor give a sermon that 80% of people are dissatisfied, at their job? Well, let's not talk about the 80%. This podcast and a chiropractor family practice calling is definitely something that should firmly plant you in the 20% where you're like, I am one of these unbelievably lucky, blessed people who loves my calling, loves what I do. And so this is really where you've been the best, because if you listen to the rest, it's kind of like listening to the media. 80% of people that pretend to the truth, they don't really have the truth, unfortunately. And so I actually look at it this way. We love this calling, this work. I'm on a podcast, but I finger quoted that. We love this so much, the call to serve mentality. I think it would be a terrible injustice, heavy word, to our kids to keep them away from it.
Yeah.
So because my prayer, our plan for our kids is to, not that it has to be chiropractic. Oh boy, I hope at least one of them. But the choosing of something to pour your heart and soul and have this much fun, this much enjoyment, this much impact, this much fulfillment from it. We want them immersed in that so that that's all they know. We want our kids to be choosy with their future, that they don't have to feel like they need a work-life balance. They just have a life that kicks butt. Because you know how much of your life you actually spend at, if you want to call it work for this conversation, fine. But it is a huge, massive component of your life. And so if you chose to be a pediatric and perinatal and family chiropractor, I bet you freaking love it. Well, we love to teach within, and you're so good here is where I want to go next. We actually then needed, and we had great mentorship and great guidance to get us here. We fell in love and still are today with the business as well. Not just the science, not just the adjusting, not just the art. And you can probably speak to that better than I can because you're not able to tap into the actual chiropractic part. Your impact is solely, entirely placed within the business part of it. So why do you love the business of chiropractic so much?
I love the business of chiropractic so much because I've just seen what the results are and what the miracles are when you get it right. And then I've also seen how hard it can be when you don't have it right. I mean, I've had conversations with different chiropractors at events when it's hard, and it's honestly so heartbreaking because they are incredible clinicians. They are incredible at what they do, and that's being a chiropractor. Yeah. But if they're not good at running a business, it's like their gift and something that they feel like they were born to do. They're not able to do it because they're super overwhelmed. They're super stressed. And so that's where I started to just fall in love with that idea of if we could help take away some of that stress from the business side of things and something that, that we love and we're super passionate about and we're always getting better at, if we could take something that we are good at and help them now become that chiropractic clinician and remove all of that weight and stress from them, I just feel like that's something that what a gift that we get to do something we love that also serves them in a way that allows them to step up to what they are so good at. And I think this wasn't something that either one of us were like, man, we love business. It just sort of started to happen naturally because there's so many things that can go wrong when you run a business. So many things. And especially being a chiropractic spouse, it would be like Tony would come home and everything that was stressing him out. And I've always been in the business, but not fully in the business when our kids were younger. And I remember every single thing that he came home with and was stressing him out. I was like, dang, I'm good at that. This is something that I love to do. And I could actually help out my husband while this is something that I love to do. Okay, I'll take this on.
Which would help out the business, which would impact more lives. So win, 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 every way you look at it.
Absolutely. And which supports our family too. Yeah. I was never naive to the fact that as our business grows, that only grows our life and that only allows our family to live a certain kind of life too. So what a win-win. There is no other profession out there where you directly impacting more lives also directly impacts your family to be able to live an incredible life. I just feel like we're so lucky to be in this profession. So when Tony would come home with certain things, it would be all stuff that I love to do. And so we figured it out on what works, what doesn't work. And then we just surrounded ourselves with people who have done it ahead of us, and then we listened to them. Yeah. We knew that if they did it and they did it successfully, how awesome is that we can start at stage 10 instead of stage 1. And that's what we want to do with everything inside of PX is why should everybody start at the ground level when all together we can collectively continue to raise the next generation of chiropractors and put them on our shoulders to start where nobody has to start on the ground level anymore. I just feel like we're so blessed to be able to do that.
Oh, whoa. Everything you just said, if my brain could try and map that out, the hardest job on a podcast is to be the interviewee because you just bring in brilliant people like you, babe, and when they let it loose like that, there's so much there. And so I want to unpack because I see 3 things there to just double tap on as we kind of go into the last section of this. Number 1, I do feel like we always felt like, and we're literally 3 moves ahead because we had mentorship and coaching.
Yeah.
Like at one time when we started the practice, we paid 2 different coaches.
Yeah.
We paid a business coach, if you will, right? The systems, the procedures, the binders, the manuals, that business coaching group that we had a 5-year contract with, their kind of chiropractic very much over time we would come to learn didn't align with us, right? Nothing to do with them, just different than us, right? So no judgment at all. So we gained so much value from them because we had business coaching. We paid for it. We went to the seminars.
Right.
We showed up on the calls. And then we wanted the chiropractic coaching. We wanted to have someone who would move us into a principled nervous system manner. So my boy, this was a little bit more for me maybe at that time, Dr. Troy, right? Dr. Troy Dukewitz, shout out to the Duke there. And so you do feel like, I would say we always felt confident and clear. Not that it wasn't a lot of hard work and that there weren't some nights where it was a little harder to fall asleep, but I would say we slept well and were confident throughout because we had mentors and coaching. So that's what you were saying there. Number 2 is there is so many things within the business that the chiropractor is probably just not good at. And honestly, even if they are, we need to trim back their plate because they have some things that only they can do, right? So this episode title, again, is How to Lead and Build the Business Together Without Killing Each Other. What do you see your role is? Like, where do you feel like, you just said it there, but I want to get almost like, if you were to review your org chart, if you were to review your function on our face chart, okay? What is your role then and now within the companies? And then how does that take pressure off? Because you said it, but I want to go a little bit deeper into the weeds, your favorite place to be, into the details, the granular details. What exactly does that role look like for somebody who's behind the scenes making the business really roll?
Yeah. Well, when we first started, my org chart was all of the parts and pieces of the org chart. And as we've grown, we've just had such an incredible team that has grown in just so many different pieces and layers. And I've learned so much from them, and hopefully they've learned, so much from me too. And it really is just this like kind of back and forth of where every single time we take a step forward in growth, there's so much to learn in the next season. And that would be my, like, something that if you're in like the on that kind of ground floor and you're just now figuring out, well, what exactly do I do in the business? Like, what exactly are we doing running this business together? Is to start with the things that you each individually own, because having that clarity for us has always been so incredibly important. And even when I wasn't as involved in the business, it was, okay, so now, I'm stepping back, we're having another baby, so you're going to need to take these things off of my plate and you fully own these. And then same with Tony of, okay, so now my bandwidth now just got stretched even more, so I might need to be coming home a little bit later than I was before. And then that was my agreement of, yes, and when you get home, like, I have the house and the kids stuff handled. So just that continued back and forth communication. And one of the times when we probably struggled the most was after our youngest, he's having fun.
I was going to ask you about this. Yes.
After our youngest went to kindergarten, and I was like, I am so ready to get back in it. Like, I cannot wait to get back in it.
Yeah. Turns out this was your internal voice only, not your external communication.
And I didn't tell him. So it was like after many weeks of him being like, I don't want to say something, but like, what the heck is happening?
Months. All of a sudden, you were always in the office. You were on every meeting. You were butting your way, felt like it at the time, into every decision. And we had probably spent, like, if you call it when our kids were little, if you call it a decade, it's kind of a decade where you were definitely very actively involved in the business, but at a different level. Life did not allow you, nor did we want it, to be for the health of our family and the well-being there. There was breastfeeding and naps and music classes and kids at home, right? So anyways, all of a sudden, you guys, every freaking meeting I show up to, Kristina's there. She hasn't been there in a decade. Every Slack channel, there's a conversation.
Always at meetings.
Yeah, you were at meetings.
Was at meetings.
But everywhere I looked, you were there all of a sudden in charge. And
no, not just there, but also there and telling you that that's not the right way to do something.
Super judgy, super bossy, which is your very natural, and I say this with love, by the way, your natural state is, people think I'm a raging bull. You are the primo raging bull. This is how we're going to do it. I know, and you do know best. Your strongest skill is discernment, right? One of my weakest skills is discernment. I'll just say yes to anything, every time, all the time. And so the truth is, if we really go into this, when you showed back up full send into leading the team, and so your role is really systems and procedures. You've got a great brain and a great experience there. So organization, project management, and then leading people, right? And stepping into that. Well, let's call a spade, and I am here to tell you guys all the truth on this, because I had needed to be in charge of all that too. That was a very tough season for me. And I'm not a natural organizer and integrator, but every business owner, you learn all the skills. Yeah. You actually do get pretty damn good at them because you have to. Right. Just let it be what it is. And so I had whatever you would call this, babe. I had farmered together our systems and our procedures and our team, and we kind of had a vibe and we had a way of doing things, and I thought it was working pretty well and it was a successful practice. And then you show up and you were like, we can do all of this so much better. And you didn't necessarily, because this is about couples, so couples listen in, you didn't necessarily give me a heads up that you were going to come in and clean things up. You just started ripping stuff out of the drawers. I pull up one day, everything's outside metaphorically, and it's like, we're starting over. And I'll finish this. I know I'm belaboring the point, but it was a big thing for us. This was a tough moment for us to really figure this out. Being honest here, listeners, I was also more tired at that stage. Yeah. Because for the better part of 5 to 10 years, I did do the chiropractor role. I did do the marketing role. I did do the team leader role. I did do the integrator and kind of at least fancied myself to be a practice COO. So I had all these hats for a long time, and I was definitely ready to give them up or kind of move out of the way. But I was pretty tired. I didn't have the same renewed energy you had at that time. I was probably more low energy. You were coming in high energy, ready to rock and roll. And so sorry for really drawing that out. I wanted to get in the details of that. It was a tough time. And all we needed to do was communicate. Yeah. Right out of every book, right?
Absolutely. And then when we did finally start communicating, it was like, okay, well, those are the things that actually are making me so tired. So that's actually what you want to come in freeing. And you want to own. And it just took us having that conversation. So as you're going through like raising your family, you know, business changes, things like that, that open communication is hands down the most important part. And I mean, I know that's marriage in general, but when you're married and you run a business together, that's just like double whammy of how strong your communication needs to be. And we really, I feel like we don't necessarily like, you know, force it. I mean, we definitely have like times where we're meeting on things or stuff like that, but we also are just all of the time communicating all the time through things.
But our most effective way, just like any meeting, is that which gets scheduled gets done. And a lot needs to get done amongst our businesses together. We have 4 kids, 5 goats, 2 donkeys, some chickens. These old ladies have been passing away a little bit, but there's a lot of chickens out there. So one of the things, just kind of in overtime here, that we love, and it really is thriving for us, when we do our TNT WTH meetings, which is, so in an ideal cadence, guys, we are human. We don't get this done every single week, but we thrive when we do. When we grab lunch together, we pull up Google Calendar, we pull out our passion planners, we pull out our quarterly rocks and objectives, we pull out the kids' athletic calendars and school calendars and spring break calendars. So basically, just imagine you're having, what is it at Aroma? What's the salad you get?
The warm grain bowl with chicken.
You're throwing a grain bowl down.
Crystal Lake for an event. You got to hit that up.
Warm grain bowl. A lot of PX stocks probably know about that. I'm throwing the sandwich down, right? I'm a bit more of a carb guy, all right? I like to keep it a little husky. And so you can imagine all these calendars are out and everything's in front of us. But that 30 to 60 minutes where we come together, and TNT is our nickname, WATH means what the heck is happening this week? Where do you need to be when? Because we do all this together, we need to make time together to get our bearings, right? To get this all organized. Right. And that's our very focused communication moment.
Yeah. And just like any business, like, yes, of course we're married, but when you're that owner operator relationship too, you do have to treat some of those moments a little bit differently than like husband and wife moments, because there's stuff you have to figure out that you have to get done. And it's way more fun when you're doing it like joking around and it's fun and you're, you know, bringing life stuff and business stuff together. But we really do separate I would say we separate our emotions really well too, for like if we have a disagreement on a decision, or if there's something one of us wants to do, or like we're pretty.
We don't fight in front of the team too often.
I mean,
Yeah, when mom and dad are fighting again, no, take it outside.
But it's just like, I mean, if you guys run a business together, you probably have this too, where they're like, okay, mom and dad. But just like any good business, good, healthy business relationship, you're going to have disagreements because you're both going after the same thing. You have the same mission and the same vision. But if there's a disagreement on the way to get there, that's very, very healthy to have that disagreement and that discussion. And now at the end of the discussion, okay, this is the path we're going, and we support each other and we go. But when you're married, it's like when people see you have that discussion that any healthy business should have, it's like, uh-oh, they're, mom and dad again.
Yeah.
But our team also very much sees how much we love doing this together. We have so much fun along with it too. And then, like I was saying before, it's so cool for our kids to get to see what we're after. And I just noticed in like conversations that they have with each other, or like what they see for their life, they see a really big life for themselves. And I know that's from watching us get to go after a really big life too.
We are in this season, so going into overtime, that's what I have, is a question or two about life, leading our team together. We lead them together. Leading and running our businesses together, we lead them together. The most important impact makers we have are our 4 beautiful kiddos, right? And the life that God is going to call them to do. And we know that they are going to be called to make massive impact on this earth for His good as well. And we don't want them to do anything other than be all in and enjoy it. Yeah. Freaking love it at the same time. So we are at this stage, you guys, as you listen to this one and it rolls out. We have teenagers that are getting into their life goals, getting into college and careers and having these discussions. And the one thing we can say here is we're watching all this hard work, not only with our businesses come to fruition. We're setting records. Things are blowing up. We can't even believe how well it's working. That's the number one phrase, right? It's working. Yeah. Which is just, I'm so grateful to God, and I'm so grateful to you for this, for being such an incredible partner, parent in all of this and in everything. I'm watching our kids thrive. Like our kids, the things they want to go after, they are all in. Yeah. They are pursuing their passions and their calling with the same, I don't even know what words to describe this, the same freaking obsessiveness, relentlessness, and they love it too. Yeah. It lights them on fire. They can't, by the way, the stuff they love, we talk about at the dinner table. The stuff we love, guess what we love? Chiropractic, business, life. So these are all dinner table conversations, because what else would we talk about there other than the things we absolutely love? So we don't overcomplicate this, and our kids are all in. So as you look at this, kind of my final overtime question is, do you see what I see, where all of these things we've learned with our business and making sound decisions and being strong leaders there, it's helped us massively in our life, hasn't it?
Absolutely.
With leading our kids and setting them up for success as well.
Yeah, absolutely. There couldn't be a more perfect complement for what we learn in one that you get to bring to the other. And then what you learn there, you bring to the, there's such an incredible complement to growing a business, growing a team, growing a family, doing that all side by side. And it's such a blessing for us that everything that we do get to learn, it just takes us that step further to knowing that we feel just so incredibly this is our story. This is our path. This is where we are meant to be. And everything that we learn, we get to now show our kids who that's the next path. Yeah. Or chiropractic students, that's the next path for chiropractors. So if we continue to only have it be about us, we're cutting off that path instantly. And so whether that's business, operations, discussions that our kids get to hear, we're continuing the next generation. Whether that's we get to share with other chiropractors and students and other people running their business, that's the next generation that's doing it. And I don't think there's anything more important for our kids to be learning and seeing that it's not about us, but it's about just creating a better world for the people that are going to be able to be here and live in it after us. When we are moving on into that next season and stage of life too.
Yeah. And I promise you this, when you go all in on serving and creating impact for others, that ROII, return on impact, sets up the second eye, which is your income and your family life. We have had the most blessed life. We've lived in dream houses, taken dream vacations. We have so much time fully connected together with our kids. Our relationships are through the roof. Like, we've never sacrificed a darn thing. We've always sought out this sweet spot. So I will leave everybody. I'm going to close this down with this kind of a call to action. And this, okay, how do you, because that's what we want to do with the Family Practice Podcast. We want to take these conversations, these stories, these strategies. I want to say, okay, exactly how do I use this? And I can use a very common scenario you get to be a part of in practice every single day. The most important thing you can do to change other parents, patients' lives, so moms and dads' lives, is when they come in and they meet a pediatric chiropractor and they've lived their whole existence to that with the pediatrician and the medical system and everybody else telling them to take that innate gut instinctual feeling that I feel like we should be doing this different. I feel like there's a better way to do this. And everybody else told them to mute it and shut it down. And you're the one that says, oh, no. In here, we tap into that. We honor that and we want that. Let us have that. And you just see these parents come into their happiest, most confident, most empowered, most impactful state of parenting. They actually get that, by the way, through chiropractic. Not necessarily your adjustments help, but it's really your empathy, your compassion, your communication. Well, Kristina and I now feel extremely called during this season, and we're going to continue to have this series of conversations here on the podcast, and we talk about this and we pour into our tribe all the time inside PX and all that. But we feel extremely called to reach out to all of you who have had that internal gut feeling of, why do we have to keep things separate? Why am I supposed to only work this many hours or only have this role? What if that didn't feel naturally, innately, in alignment with you? What if you wanted to do it differently than everybody else says, and you want to absolutely merge and mash together your calling, your purpose, your profession, and your family, and your marriage, and your kids, and your life? What if you really innately this whole time wanted to go all in together for all of it without killing each other? Well, that's how you do it. You do not put these lines of separation that supposedly work for other people. You listen to what the frick is going to work for you. You reach out for mentorship and others who have successfully built it and done it before. And you just tap into their stories. You tap into their strategies. You tap into their circles. And all of a sudden, you know what's going to happen? It's going to start to stick to you. It's going to start to empower you. It's going to start to absolutely ignite you to say, okay, I knew how to do this all along. I just needed to lean into that. So spouses out there listening to this who are running that practice together and leading together, this is how we've done it. This is how we do it. This is how we love it. And this is how it's working better than ever. And we will continue to do it forever in this way. And we feel very blessed to do so. Final parting thoughts? Are we calling it good there?
Yeah, I love it. I just think that running a business together can truly be one of the most rewarding things, not only for your relationship, your family, but also for your community. And it's been so cool to be able to do this. Thanks so much for having me on your podcast.
Well, we'll see you back as soon as Asana says that which is our project management software, which you control and love. So I'm sure you know when the next episode is, but I'll be here right with you, babe, and I can't wait to jam in. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, Dr. Tony here, and I wanted to say thank you for listening to the Family Practice Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, like and subscribe to the show so you don't miss a thing. Also, if you're looking for more content from us, you can absolutely subscribe to our newsletter, watch exclusive episodes on YouTube, and dive deep into the articles and blogs on our website. All of this is linked in today's show notes. Thanks again, and we'll see you on the next episode.